compete and just cut it loose it's been awesome. So, I think the biggest thing for me is just being out there, going out there and just reacting, cutting it loose. Don't get too worried into making mistakes. That's part of the game. That's part of this period where we're in. So, again, I'm having fun. I'm enjoying the guys. I'm enjoying the locker room. I'm hanging out with the guys outside the building. It's been a good 9-10 weeks for sure.
Deshaun, do you feel like
I love this hire already. I think Shedeur will really lean into this style of offense. I'm excited for this group, and I'm glad you mentioned Njoku as well, because he's bringing another bad joker to the huddle as well, and Harold Fannin. Mm-hmm. And now you're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4 Pro Bowlers, including Shedeur. If Judkins can get it done next year, that's what they call a core, and you can have confidence with a core, and you can start to build through the draft. They're going to circle the wagons. They're going to say it's us against the world, it's Shedeur Sanders against the world, and let's build a bully. And bullies have won historically.
I mean, it's been good. I think from the time he got drafted, the relationship and conversations has been growing, even during pre-draft. And I've known the Sanders family. I've known his brother all the way back when he was at SMU. When Coach Chad Morris, he was the coach there. I used to go out there and, I used to hang out with the team, and his brother was one of the players. So, me and his family got a good relationship, and, we always just try to pull for each other. So, we both have the opportunity to go out there and put out the best product for the team and let Monken and the organization choose who can go out there, and we're going to support it.
To me, Shedeur Sanders is the starter on this team. Dillon Gabriel's the backup, which I think is what he's going to be for his career and can be a good one. I'd get Deshaun Watson out of town. This shouldn't even be a discussion we're even lingering over anymore. It's over. It's done. Figure it out.
It's very important. I think each and every person that walks into the locker room should have that mindset that you want to start in this league. That's why we show up each and every day, is to be able to go out there and be able to perform on Sundays or whenever that day is. So it's definitely the main focus of why I work hard to be able to come back the way I do.
How does this system?
To truly understand what Deshaun Watson is dealing with right now, you have to go back to the beginning of this Cleveland chapter and look at the full picture honestly. When the Browns traded for Watson, they did not make a modest move, they made a historic one. They surrendered premium draft picks and handed Watson one of the largest contracts in NFL history. The message from the organization was loud and clear: this is our quarterback, this is our future, and we are betting everything on this working out. That kind of investment does not just create expectations, it creates an obligation. And when injuries began disrupting Watson's availability almost immediately, every absence felt like a debt that was growing instead of shrinking. Watson played in limited games during his first stretch in Cleveland. The offense never became what it was supposed to be. The momentum never built. The fan base, which had committed to the idea of Watson being the answer, began to feel the early signs of disappointment. And in professional sports, especially at the quarterback position, once a fan base starts pulling back emotionally, it takes something extraordinary to bring them back. Watson spent significant time rehabbing. He missed games, missed chances to build chemistry with his receivers, and missed the opportunity to establish himself as the kind of consistent leader Cleveland needed. While other quarterbacks around the league were developing rhythms, building trust with offensive coordinators, and earning the confidence of their teammates through game experience, Watson was largely working to simply get healthy enough to compete again. That timeline matters now because Watson is not entering this training camp with a clean slate. He is entering it carrying every doubt, every headline, every painful memory of what this investment has cost the Browns, and what it has so far failed to deliver. He knows that. His teammates know that. The coaches know that. And every fan who shows up to watch practice knows that too. When Watson steps in front of a microphone, the pressure of that history is present in almost every word he chooses. He does not have the freedom to make vague promises or lean on potential. He needs proof, and he needs it fast. There was a moment during one of Watson's recent media sessions that revealed more about where he stands than any statistical breakdown ever could. Watson was asked about fan support, specifically about what he thinks when he recognizes that a large portion of the Cleveland fan base may now be directing their energy toward the rookie quarterback standing behind him. His answer was measured, professional, and diplomatically delivered. He said that he cannot control what people choose to support. He talked about focusing on the things within his power, his preparation, his attitude, and the version of himself that he puts forward every single day. On the surface, that sounds like a veteran giving a veteran answer. Coaches love that kind of composure. Teammates respect that kind of maturity. But when you sit with those words a little longer and you think about the context surrounding them, something deeper begins to emerge. A quarterback who is confident his city is behind him does not need to acknowledge that others may have moved on. A quarterback who feels the crowd's energy shifting does not comment on being unable to stop that shift. Watson's response was not careless, it was calculated, but the very fact that he felt the need to address it at all reveals exactly how real the pressure has become. He is aware that a significant portion of the Cleveland fan base has already begun mentally transitioning to the Shedeur Sanders era. He is not denying it. He is not fighting it with bold claims about being the unquestioned starter. He is simply acknowledging that some things are beyond his reach. That is honesty. But in the context of a quarterback battle, it also carries the quiet weight of a man who understands his position may be more vulnerable than his contract suggests. Now let us talk about the other side of this competition, because Shedeur Sanders has done something remarkable before he has even taken a meaningful snap at the professional level. He has become a symbol, not just a player, not just a rookie quarterback learning the ropes, a symbol of what Cleveland could become if the organization is willing to stop chasing the old plan and start building something new from the ground up. Shedeur did not need to campaign for that role. He did not need to make demands or call out Watson publicly or push for extra reps in a way that created drama. He simply showed up confident, prepared, and carrying a level of comfort with the spotlight that most young players spend their entire careers trying to develop. His background prepared him for this moment in ways that cannot be taught inside an NFL facility. He has played enormous college games with the entire country watching. He has dealt with the scrutiny that comes with carrying a famous name into every stadium. He has faced critics who doubted him at every level and found ways to silence them with his play. By the time he arrived in Cleveland as a professional, the noise was already familiar. The cameras were already familiar. The expectation was already familiar. That is a significant edge for a rookie, and it has not gone unnoticed. What makes Shedeur particularly dangerous in this situation is not just his talent, it is the emotional math of the moment. Cleveland fans look at Watson and they see a complicated history full of hope and disappointment. They look at Shedeur and they see possibility, clean, unwritten, and full of potential. That emotional difference does not show up in any statistical comparison, but it shapes the atmosphere around the entire quarterback competition in a very real way. Every time Shedeur makes a sharp throw in practice, people react with energy. Every confident answer he gives in front of reporters adds another brick to the foundation that fans are building in their imagination. Every positive interaction with teammates reinforces the picture of a young leader who is already fitting into the environment. He does not need to force the conversation. The conversation is already moving in his direction naturally. Here is what makes Watson's challenge so difficult that it borders on unfair, though professional sports rarely concern themselves with fairness. The expectations attached to Watson and the expectations attached to Shedeur are so dramatically different that they might as well be playing two entirely separate games right now. If Watson goes out and delivers a sharp, efficient practice session, the reaction will be something along the lines of, well, he should be doing that. He is an experienced quarterback. He should look polished. If Shedeur delivers a sharp practice session, the reaction will be, look at what this rookie is already capable of. Imagine what he will become. If Watson makes a mistake, it gets filed alongside every other mistake from the past few years, and the narrative of decline gets another piece of evidence added to it. If Shedeur makes a mistake, it gets labeled as part of the learning process, an expected and acceptable moment in a young quarterback's development. Watson cannot win the crowd by doing what he is supposed to do. He can only avoid losing them by avoiding significant errors. That is an exhausting position to occupy, and it puts enormous psychological pressure on every single throw he makes. There is also the health narrative that continues to hover over Watson's story. He has been candid about the fact that he has not felt fully healthy since a game back in 2023. That kind of statement, while honest, also refuels every question about his durability. The Browns need a quarterback who can be available, not just talented. And after years of watching Watson battle his way through injury setbacks, that availability question has become the loudest concern in the building. Now Watson says he is finally healthy. He says his body is ready and his mind is in the right place, But the burden of proof is entirely on him to demonstrate that rather than simply stating it. Words have run out in Cleveland. The city needs to see it happen on the field. One of the most underappreciated aspects of what Watson is doing right now is how carefully he is managing the human side of this situation. He has spoken about knowing the Sanders family for years. He has talked about his connection to Shedeur that predates the NFL draft, tracing back through shared relationships and mutual respect. He has consistently framed this competition as a healthy situation rather than a hostile one. He has told reporters that he and Shedeur will support each other and let the coaching staff make the right decision for the team. That approach deserves credit because it is genuinely difficult to execute. Watson is effectively in a position where he is helping to prepare, support, and publicly endorse a young quarterback who could eventually be the reason Watson is no longer on this roster. That takes discipline, that takes emotional maturity, and frankly, that takes a level of professionalism that many veterans in similar situations have failed to demonstrate. But here is the reality underneath that professional approach. Watson does not have a choice. Any sign of frustration, resentment, or hostility toward Shedeur would immediately become the dominant story. The second Watson says something even slightly dismissive about the rookie, the media narrative shifts from whether Watson can still play to whether Watson has lost his leadership credibility entirely. He cannot afford that story. So he stays composed, stays diplomatic, and stays focused on what he can actually control. That is not weakness. That is survival instincts from a veteran who understands how quickly a wrong word can reshape an entire season. Cleveland's front office and coaching staff are not simply choosing between two quarterbacks right now. They are choosing between two completely different versions of this franchise's future. Staying with Watson means believing that the original investment can still produce a return. It means trusting that the healthy version of the quarterback they traded so much to acquire is real and sustainable. It means accepting the risk that if Watson gets hurt again or struggles again, the organization will face the same painful conversation it has been having for years, just one chapter further along with fewer options. Choosing Shedeur means accepting that the price paid for Watson did not produce what was promised, closing that chapter, and committing to the uncertainty that always comes with starting a rookie quarterback in the NFL. It means that some of the early season games may be difficult. It means absorbing growing pains, but it also means potentially building something that grows with the organization rather than something that is already fighting against time. Neither decision is without risk, but the emotional weight attached to each option is dramatically different, and in professional sports, emotion has a way of influencing decisions more than organizations publicly admit. The fans are not just rooting for Shedeur because they think he will immediately outperform Watson statistically. They are rooting for him because they are exhausted by the weight of the Watson era, and they want permission to feel excited about Cleveland football again. Shedeur gives them that permission, and that psychological shift inside a stadium, inside a city, inside a locker room, it matters in ways that do not show up in a depth chart evaluation. Beyond Cleveland, Watson is also fighting for something larger. He is fighting for his professional reputation across the entire league. If Watson loses this competition and looks diminished in the process, other franchises will take notice. The window for being viewed as a quarterback capable of leading a team starts closing fast once the narrative of decline takes hold. Teams that might have considered Watson as a veteran option, a bridge quarterback, or a mentor figure will begin looking elsewhere if what happens in Cleveland suggests that his best football is permanently in the past. Watson understands this. That is why his language around health, preparation, and mental readiness has been so deliberate. He is not just trying to convince the Browns. He is trying to convince the entire league that the version of Deshaun Watson who was genuinely elite is still in there somewhere, waiting to come back out. That makes this training camp something larger than a position battle. It is a public audition for the rest of his NFL story, and the audience goes well beyond the Browns' coaching staff. As training camp progresses and preseason games begin, the polished answers and careful language will start to matter less. The controlled media environment will give way to the uncontrolled reality of competitive football, and that is where the true story will begin to emerge. If Watson comes out of camp looking sharp, healthy, and commanding, the conversation may shift. Fans do not dislike Watson as a person. They are frustrated by circumstances. If he can remind them of what he looked like before the injuries piled up, there is a version of this story where Cleveland rallies behind him. But if Shedeur continues building momentum, making plays, earning the respect of his teammates, and giving the offense a different kind of energy, the pressure on the organization to accelerate the timeline will become impossible to manage quietly. Coaches will feel it, the front office will feel it, and eventually a decision will have to be made openly rather than managed carefully. Cleveland is standing at a crossroads that rarely presents itself so clearly. The old investment is asking for one more chance. The new possibility is knocking on the door with a confidence that does not flinch under pressure. One of these quarterbacks will ultimately get the chance to define what the Browns become next. And whether Watson holds on or Shedeur breaks through, this quarterback situation is already one of the most compelling storylines in the NFL heading into the new season. The preseason games cannot get here fast enough. That is where things stand in Cleveland right now, and trust us, this story is only getting started. Before training camp is over, before the first preseason snap is taken, the tension inside that building is going to tell us something important about where this franchise is truly headed. Here at Sports Zone USA, we are going to be watching every development, breaking down every practice report, and giving you the real analysis behind every move Cleveland makes. This is exactly the kind of story we live for, and we are not going anywhere until it plays out completely. So if you are not already subscribed to Sports Zone USA, now is the time. Hit that subscribe button so you are here when the next chapter of this story drops. Give this video a like if you think the Browns need to make a decision soon, and drop your take in the comments right now. Is this still Watson's competition to lose, or has Shedeur Sanders already taken over the storyline in Cleveland? We read every comment, we see every opinion, and your voice is part of what drives this channel forward. This is Sports Zone USA, where the real conversations happen. We will see you in the next one.